Good evening to you all. Welcome to Talk the Book, an insightful book review episode of AP State Council of Higher Education. And today is the 160th book review being done by Dr. Neelima Choudaraju. Dr. Neelima Choudaraju is going to review The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Before Dr. Neelima continues with her book review, maybe a few introductory remarks about Dr. Neelima. Dr. Neelima Choudaraju, an esteemed educator with over 25 years of teaching experience, currently heads the Department of Communication and Soft Skills at KL University, Guntur. Holding a PhD in English language and literature, she is also qualified in TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages of America, and BEC, Business English Certificate from Cambridge. With 2 authored books and 42 research papers, she has received accolades like Best Research Paper and Best Researcher awards. As a soft skills trainer, she is trained by the Institute of Electronic Governance, Government of Andhra Pradesh. Dr. Neelima has been recognized as a leading professor by BTOGS and has affiliations with organizations like European Centre for Research, Training and Development, UK. She serves on the editorial board of the American Research Journal of English and Literature. Today, Dr. Neelima Choudaraju takes us through the review of The Power of Habit, Why We Do, What We Do in Life and Business, written by Charles Duhigg. Every one of us have a habit, whether it is good or bad, or whether it is a type of emotional habit, or it's a type of physical habit, etc. But we don't know how this habit has crept into our life and how we are coping it with. And this particular Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg is a captivating exploration of the science behind our habits and how they shape our lives. Now, with this introduction, over to you, Madam, Dr. Neelima Choudaraju, and we are eager to listen to a book review of The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business by Charles Duhigg. Please unmute yourself, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your kind words of introduction. It's my pleasure to be associated with APSHRI. At the outset, I'd like to congratulate the APSHRI under the able guidance of Professor Hemchandra Reddy Garu, Chairman, who has been relentlessly working on the challenging task of bringing quality to the higher education of Andhra Pradesh. And I also thank Dr. Srirangam Matthew, sir, academic officer, for the wonderful organization of such programs, the benefit of the students. I'm thankful for the opportunity given to me today to talk about the book, which is a captivating one and which has been to the core of my heart, an influencing one of all times. Coming to this particular reading process and the reviews of the books, what is the need of these reviews? Why are we going with this? What is the significant change that it's going to bring in the individuals, the learning as well as understanding process? Whenever we talk about the success of an individual, either a personal one or the professional one, the most important factor that we consider in that individual is the communication, how convincing it is. And that convincing communication pattern is possible and it's going to be identified as an influential one with the language patterns and how the ideas are curated with the language patterns that are convincing. And this convincing language pattern is imbibed as well as it's going to be an elevated one with the reading hobby of an individual. I thank Akshay for taking up this wonderful program of Talk the Book, which is nothing but having the reviews of the wonderful creativity of different authors all over the world, which directly influences the thought process of the individual. And in turn, that influences the shape of the society, especially the generation, which is going to be the future of the nations. Right? Whenever I consider this reading hobby or the reading quality or skill, I remember one of the anonymous quotes which I happened to read somewhere and which rings in my ears even now. It goes like this. Here I gave the quote. Reading is not just an escape. It is an access to a better way of life, a pathway to understanding, empathy, and endless possibilities. How beautifully this is crafted by the author, elevating the importance of qualities that they are understanding, quality of empathy, as well as exploring endless possibilities with the help of these qualities. And these are going to be carved to the finest manner with the reading skill. Now, this instigates me every time to go through this reading process. And in such processes, I happen to read this book, The Power of Habit, written by Charles Duhigg. Without going for any kind of delay, let us get into the review of the book. But before getting into the details of the book, let me talk about the author. The present book, The Power of Habit, which we are going to discuss for another half an hour or 40 minutes, it's written by Charles Duhigg. He's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, speaker, and the best-selling author. He contributed to a number of award-winning series for the New York Times, and he currently writes for the New Yorker Magazine and other publications. He hosts a podcast, How To, and has been featured on the numerous TV programs, including The Frontline and the PBS NewsHour. In tandem with his work as a reporter, he published his first book, that is The Power of Habit. Now, how could he get this kind of understanding? Why did he jump into this particular ideology of putting forward his ideas related to habits, how they are formed, how they are going to change, how they are going to be categorized into good habits or bad habits? What motivated him as an individual? His learning and universities, because he is a graduate of Yale University as well as the Harvard Business School. His days over these universities' campuses made him observe different habit patterns. And as a business school student, he happened to be in the observation of the different kinds of industries. So that observation, and later as a reporter, how he identified and analyzed different aspects of the society, that pushed him to go for this work, that is The Power of Habit. Now, coming to this award-winning book, The Power of Habit, which has been on the best-selling book list of New York Times. It's going to show us the different dimensions of understandings of individuals in terms of individuality as well as in connection with the society also. In this book, Charles Duhigg takes us to the thrilling edge of scientific discoveries that explain us why habits exist and how they can be changed. And this is going to be identified, and this is beautifully crafted with the penetration of intelligence and an ability to distill vast amounts of information into engrossing narratives. This the reporter turned writer brings to life a whole new understanding of human nature and its potential to transformation. Along the way, we learn why some people and companies struggle to change despite the years of trials, while others seem to remake themselves, rejuvenate themselves overnight. We visit laboratories where neuroscientists explore how habits work and where exactly they reside in our brains. Through this book, we also discover how the right habits were crucial to the success of the Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps, Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz, the civil rights hero Martin Luther King Jr., we go inside Procter and Gamble, Target superstars, Rick Warren's Saddleback Church, NFL locker rooms, and the nation's largest hospitals, and see how implementing so-called keystone habits can earn billions and mean the difference between failure and success. That is nothing but life and death. Now, in this book, Charles Duhigg crafted his ideas, combines cutting edge research and captivating stories to reveal how habits shape our lives and how we can shape our habits. Now, when we are going to talk about these habits can be healthy, habits can be destructive. They can shape our cognitive wiring, or else they, once they are established, they take hefty effort to override those neural connections. But in this book, The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg demystifies the main processes involved in forming and altering the mindless actions. And the art of projecting or presenting these demystified ideas or thought process with the suitable examples and the language patterns, that's the captivating one, and that glues us to our chairs till we complete the reading of the book. And coming to the mindfulness which is projected in this book, in fact, it is defined as a habit, but the routine doesn't start out in a simple way as written by Duhigg, the New York Times reporter. He explains that habits are choices that all of us deliberately make at some point and then stop thinking about these choices. But one thing continues, that is following that choice, continue working on that choice. And this is nothing but the choice has become a habit. Not only that, these habits are the natural consequence of our neurology. They serve a purpose, as uh, Charles Duhigg's write up in this particular book. And he also states that without a habit, we would spend inordinate amounts of time tending to the mundane but necessary tasks of cleaning, clothing, feeding ourselves, chit-chatting with somebody else, or going for the necessities of life. So as we become practiced in the tasks, essentially, we learn mental activity decreases. As, as per the understanding or as per the ideology of Duhigg presented in this book, The Power of Habit, as long as we concentrate on the physical activity, our mental activity is going to be reduced. So studies in rats, for example, shows that the brain's basal ganglia stored habits while the rest of the brain took a nap. This is what is happening in each and everyone's life. Now, he defines a habit in a different way. Habits are routines and things that we do on a regular basis, some knowingly and some unknowingly. This is the simple definition provided by Charles Duhigg in this book. They keep you going when you want to get things done, but you are low on motivation. This is his understanding of most of the individuals who do not go for the revision of habits, who do not go for working patterns on the mind process or the mental activity. He also says that it is easier to do something if it is a regular habit. Now, talking about the daily routines, Charles Duhigg says that all the daily activities of the individuals are based on habits, like backing the car out of the driveway. Once a person grabs his or her car keys, the basal ganglia recognizes this habit, and not much thought is required to back the car out. It's like uh, pedaling the cycle once we are on the seat of the cycle. This efficiency prevents people from having to think too hard about everyday tasks. Habits are a way for the brain to save effort. This process saves the effort that individuals' brains take in order to go for the routine tasks. He also says that individuals' brains go through three-step loop in the development process of habits, which become more automatic over time. The first step, according to Charles Duhigg, is a cue instructs the brain to move into the automatic mode. The routine that follows can include emotional, mental, or physical actions. Any of these actions can be included in the follow. That is in the second step. And the third step is a reward, which helps the brain determine whether the loop is worth remembering or not. So the results, as well as the stream that individual takes in order to go for that particular act, makes it whether it's worth remembering loop or not. Now, with this three-step habit formation, he says that once the habit is formed, the brain is no longer active in decision making. That's the definite one, according to the examples and the process that has been given as the description in the habit formation by Charles Duhigg. As a result, Habits are going to be segregated either a good habit or a bad habit. And they continue unless a conscious effort is made to change existing patterns. Once the loop process is understood, it becomes easier to replace the bad habits with the good ones. Even the small steps can be enough to gradually change a negative pattern into a positive pattern. But the only thing is, the individual has to identify which habits are the good ones, which habits are the bad ones. And one more thing which we need to understand at this point, as per the description of Charles Duhigg and the power of habit, is once the habit is formed, it's not going to be branded as a good habit or a bad habit, but the results of those habits or the actions which result in a good way are going to be considered as good habits, and the results which are going to be negative are going to be considered as a bad habits. In this connection, in the early 1900s, the executive named Claude C. Hopkins used this habit loop to sell a new product called Pepsodent. It was not an easy sell because few people brushed their teeth at the time. Hopkins created a craving for his product using a cue of tooth film. Although tooth film did not bother people in the past, once he mentioned it, tooth film became their cue to brush their teeth. He took something that is already existing, presented it as a problem, and offered a solution of cleaning the teeth, which is going to clean the entire mouth. The company learned that the customers used Pepsodent because of the tingling sensation it left after the brushing process. Their craving was for this feeling Pepsodent provided. Another example to take from the same book, The Power of Habit, which is connected with the industry. This is connected with Procter and Gamble. This organization struggled to find a mainstream use for its Febreze product until it learned how to create a new habit in customers. This company originally promoted colorless spray to neutralize odors while cleaning. That specific feature was not enough to sell the product because many people were accustomed to the smells in their homes. And the bad smells were not strong enough to trigger and create a new habit. What Procter and Gamble discovered is that people sought a reward when they finished cleaning instead of neutral scent that is used when one starts to clean. They added a perfumed scent to be sprayed after cleaning. The goal was to create a craving for things to smell pleasant when the cleaning was completed. With this information, the company promoted Febreze as a product that could be used to freshen up room after cleaning. And to go for another example from the same book, Tony Dungy was a coach of the unsuccessful football team. What empowered him to lead his players to success was a belief that changing some bad habits would have an overall positive impact. He wanted his players to develop successful habits that would result in uh, less decision making during the game. That means on a less time going for the decision making during the game. Jangi focused on the middle step of the routine, not the beginning or the end. Rather than teaching hundreds of formations to his players, He wanted them to know why only a handful of formations which are learned or understood completely, that too with authentication, they become automatic ones, they become a habit, and that habit leads to fearless play. This resulted in a shift in the team's behavior, and much of their performance became automatic. Mistakes occur in the past when they stopped to go for the second guess for themselves to play in the field. This problem was eliminated because their coach changed the team's routine, and that has become a habit. Now they're not going to think of the past strategies or past habits. Now, the habit which has become an effortless one made this team a successful one. So, habits which are formed or which are made a routine, either it is in personal life, or it is in the industry perspective, or it is in the sports zone, whatever is the zone or whatever is the ground, these habits formation and changing the negative habits into positive habits brings in success. That is proven, that is exemplified in this book by Charles Duhigg. Now, talking about the keystones, which he talked about in the 3 step in the formation of habits, we will go for some a light on this particular keystone aspect. These keystone habits create a base on which other habits are built. Generally, human brain focuses on carrying out a few specific actions in an excellent manner, and these actions come into play when integrating new habits. Once new habits are ingratiated, they influence other habits. So this is going to become a chain action. All these habits turn into organizational routines. So while talking about the term, the keystone, this is a key term in architecture. In architecture, keystone is the stone that sits directly in the center of an arch and helps to interlock all the other stones in place while bearing the least amount of weight. If someone were to remove the keystone, the arch would fall apart. As this stone is going to be the fundamental part of the whole structure, likewise, the keystone habit is going to be the fundamental part of any healthy habit or any healthy routine. So essentially, keystone habits lead to the development of other good habits. They start in a chain effect in individuals' lives. It can be connected with the routine of organizations, or it can be connected with the process that teams consider while going for a particular task or routine. He also says that when we are already in the practice of some keystone habits, even if we are not aware of it, but more importantly, if we know how to and how long it takes to develop these habits, we can greatly improve our health, professional life, and relationships in order to start living the best life. And the other key aspect that he talks about in this particular book, The Power of Habit, is practicing gratitude. A lot of times it is much easier to see what you don't have than what you do have. People are so busy thinking about the things, and they don't have uh, that, they forget to see everything that is around them. This happens with most of us, almost all of us. Practicing gratitude is essential if we want to have a peaceful mind and live with high aspirations or high spirits. What we need to do is we need to take some time every morning, maybe at least for 15 minutes, to write down the things that we are grateful for on that day. To do this particular act, we need to put aside all our problems and just focus only on the positives. What are the positive things that currently I'm enjoying in my life? It can be of personal life or it can be of a professional life. For all those things, if we feel that gratitude, that is going to induce that positivity in the thinking process, which in turn generates new positive thought process. Now, how to go for the keystone habits and how to figure out. To figure out the keystone habits, what Charles Duhigg suggests in this book is we may be practicing most of the behaviors. Those practices or those behaviors have a domino effect. Now, what do we do with the changes, the, our behaviors without putting in an extra effort? What kind of change is required and how that change is going to be incorporated in the behavioral patterns of the individuals without an extra effort? For this, Duhigg says willpower is the most important keystone habit for such transformations. He also says that if you want to achieve success, willpower is the only keystone habit. Everything boils down to your self-discipline. He also says if you're trying to understand or if you're trying to do what is right or best, even though it might not be the easiest choice, then these changed ideologies or the changed routine patterns become habits. And this is going to give immediate satisfaction because the results are going to be fruitful. So what he suggests in this process is we need to consider adopting some of the keystone habits, right? And those keystone habits are given or emphasized by this Pulitzer Prize winner in this particular book, The Power of Habit. And some of the keystone habits that he talks about in this book are dress better, make your bed, exercise in the morning, effective time management, practicing gratitude, learn a new skill, sleep well, sticking to routine, and stop procrastination. These are some of the keystone habits which are considered or which are projected as an example. If all of us consider adopting some of the keystone habits which are given right now and see what other areas of our lives start improving in the process. In my case, what I said is one of my goals, which is set for myself in this year, is get 8 hours of sleep every night, which is a rare phenomena, which I feel a positive one, which I'll be anticipating or expecting every now and then. Halfway through this year, I can feel the difference. I definitely have more energy, and it's wonderful to not feel tired all the time with having a peaceful 8 hours of sleep. I'm also exercising more regularly. For me, sleep is the keystone habit, and I see the power of it. So, one keystone habit which influences the other habits, which are positives, and all these positive habits, when are exercised or implemented in our day-to-day life, whether it is in the professional zone or in the personal zone, that always yields the positive results, right? So, in a similar manner, I encourage all of you to identify the keystone habit for yourself and implement it. And I believe you will also be benefited. Now, the examples that he has taken from the industry in order to talk about how important how important the habit formation is for the organizations. Taking the example of Starbucks, he talks about it. Starbucks, much of its profits on expensive coffee. All of us know about it. The company needed to deliver an experience that matched the price. It invested in a curriculum to teach self-discipline to employees so they would be prepared for tough situations. Throughout their training, Starbucks employees are presented with stressful scenarios and are asked how they would respond. Whenever there is a stressful situation, whenever it occurred to them, employees were ready because they had already learned the proper behavior ahead of the time. Right? So, with this particular example, what he suggests is, unless we consider the key habit, and that key habit is going, unless we connect it with the willpower, which is the ultimate quality which becomes the base for the implementation of any routine or any uh, routine formation or habit formation. Connectivity with other aspects, connectivity with other intrapersonal and interpersonal skill sets, which are to be stimulated, which are to be implemented in this successful results yielding from the routines or the habits that we frame. So, with that aspect, he has taken examples from the organizations or the industry. He also has taken from the examples of the individuals. He also takes the examples of the historians in this book to make it clear how the power of habit is an influential one. At the root of the movements, as the third part passes, that historians and sociologists say shows up again and again. A movement starts because of the social habits of friendship and the strong ties between the close acquaintances. It grows because of the habits of the society and the weak ties that hold neighborhoods and together. Here, what we need to understand is it endures because a movement's leaders give participants new habits that create a sense of identity and a feeling of ownership. When Parks was arrested, it sparked something within the community. Rosa Parks was deeply embedded in the community, So when she was arrested, the habits of friendship ignited a social protest. She was a member of dozens of social networks, so had the friends throughout the city. When her friends learned of her arrest, they organized boycotts. Many expected the protest to be a one-day event, and small protests pop up every day around the world. And most of us allowed, no one has enough friends to change the world. That is why the second aspect of the social habits of movements is important. The boycott became a society-wide action because of the peer pressure, an influence known as the power of weak ties that made it difficult to avoid joining in. So habits and their strength are the movements which are the results of these habits or the routines of the individuals connected with their societal ties or the friendships that they had with different communities. That's going to dictate whether the societal relations, if they are going to be strong, how the movements are going to result. If the ties are weak, how the results are going to be. The movements are going to result. Uh, these are some of the examples taken from the society. He has taken examples from the organization. Now, coming to the general aspect, why this becomes a notable one or this becomes a connected one to all times. Why this is a significant one to all the times, to all the societies. Because this book is written in such a way by Charles Duhigg, which connects with the different sections of the society. Uh, to quote some of the significant properties or the significant aspects of this particular book, it gives insights into the human behavior. In this book, Charles Duhigg dwells into the science behind habit formation, exploring how habits work in our brains and daily lives. Understanding these mechanisms can empower individuals to make positive changes and break bad habits. And the other reason for its significance to the present times also, or when I say to all times, it's an applicable one, it's practical application. Because Charles Duhigg offers practical strategies for changing habits, drawing on real life examples from individuals to organizations. And he also suggests some actionable strategies, providing readers with the tools to implement change in their own lives or workplace. And the other reason for its applicability would be its wide applicability. As we understand and approve that habits influence nearly every aspect of our lives, from personal habits like exercise and productivity to the organizational habits within the companies. As such, the book has broader relevance and it can resonate with a wider audience. And the most important aspect for why it is connected with all times is its engaging narrative. The writer, Charles Duhigg, weaves together scientific research with a compelling story narration strategy, and the practical advice in a captivating process. This makes this book both informative and enjoyable to read. Uh, To make it more convenient or to talk about it in a different way, uh, to give how this book is given, this can be divided into three parts. As we already talked about, the first part is going to deal with the habits of the individuals, right? The second part is going to explore the habits of the organizations. And the third part that is going to examine the role of habits in the shaping the societal patterns from the civil rights movement to the spread of obesity. Right. Uh, in order to go for, in a nutshell, describe these three parts. The first part, the habits of individuals, habits of um, individual members. The writer Charles Duhigg dwells into the neurological process, right? Which talks about the formation, which talks about introducing the concept of habit loop, which we already discussed, the cue, routine, and reward, which are the three-step process of habit formation. Understanding these loop to empower, which empowers the individuals to change their habits effectively. And why this is a captivating one is he illustrates this with engaging stories uh, like the habitual smoker and the success of the companies like Procter and Gamble in marketing products based on consumer habits. While to talk about the exploration process and the second part, which talks about the habits that operate with the organizations. He takes examples of Starbucks and Alcoa, demonstrates how habits can be deliberately cultivated to ensure productivity, safety, and efficiency. In this part, Duhigg emphasizes the role of strong leadership and the importance of institutionalizing keystone habits, which have the power to spark widespread behavioral change within the organizations. So he talks about the organizational work etiquette, a work etiquette which talks about the habitual working conditions or the habitual routines of the organizations, which are set by the teams, the management, and how they need to be changed from time to time based on the needs of the customers, based on the demands of the customers. And coming to the final part, Duhigg examines the role of habits in shaping the societal patterns, where we talked about the movements and how these movements are going to be successful or uh, how they can turn into weak movements based on the connectivity of people with the society. Duhigg distills complex scientific concepts into engaging narratives that are easy to grasp, making it suitable for a wide audience. Right? But along with these positives, there are certain critics who argue that Duhigg oversimplifies the complexities of habit formation, particularly when he emphasizes on the habit loop model. In addition to that, this book also provides numerous examples of successful habit change. It could benefit from the nuanced discussion of the challenges and failures inherent in the process. Overall, the power of habit, it's a thought-provoking exploration of the science of habit, offering it offers valuable insights into how habits shape our lives, how we can harness that power to effect positive change. Whether we are looking for a break of the bad habits or improve productivity or understand the dynamics of the societal change, this book definitely provides a compelling roadmap for the transformation. Right? So why I have chosen this particular book when I was given this opportunity, when there are n number of books to talk about, when there are n number of books that I could be connected to the millennial generation. Post-pandemic, there are a lot of changes in our day-to-day life. There are a lot of changes in the thinking process of the individuals. This thought process change differs from generation to generation. The older generation started considering the safety and security of their own lives, as well as providing security to the members of their family, providing security to the financial conditions of the family. This is one aspect that they're considered about. So with that compelling demand, considering it as the keystone habit or the cue card, there are certain changes in the habit formations, or there are certain changes in the habits of the elder generation. Coming to the younger generation, this pandemic, post-pandemic, the pandemic problematic conditions which confined the individuals to the four walls of the house for over 1.5 years. That closed the thinking patterns of this younger generation, where people lost connectivity with the society. People lost, when I say lost connectivity with the society, physical connectivity. People are connected remotely, but that remote connectivity is going to satisfy the communication thirst of the individuals, where we are eagerly waiting to speak to somebody, to express our pain, to express the vacuum that we are going through, to express the ideology that we had during that painful moment. But the kind of satisfaction or the kind of confidence or the kind of courage that we receive or we grasp when we meet our friends or the members in the surrounding society physically, that's not going to be experienced in a remote communication pattern. So that created a vacuum, that closed the thinking patterns, that gave scope for the negative habits or the bad habits, which are to be broken. So being into the teaching profession, the kind of change that I observed to the previous batches and the post-pandemic batches is the grasping ability. The first and foremost thing is the listening capacity of the individuals. It reduced drastically. That means the habit formation during that lockdown period or during that pandemic period, that's not a positive one. That closed the mental aspect, the psychological thinking process. So what we need at this point is go for the motivation process that comes from the presentations of the so-called motivational speakers or The books like The Power of Habit are the books which are going to give us examples from the past or the current uh, scenario or the contemporary aspects, either positive or negative. The analysis the authors give or the writers give through these examples motivate the generation that transforms the thinking process. So the keystone habits are going to be formed based on the explanatory as well as experiential learning through the examples given by Charles Duhigg in this book. This instigated me to take up this book for the review process, and this is the significance of this book, which is a positive one and which is an essential one, which is connected to all times, all ages, to all age groups of people. So I benefited a lot after reading this book. I had some keystone habits which connected me to certain positive habits. One experience that I had given is my sleep habit. So I wanted all of you to be benefited through the reading of this book. Thank you. Thank you once again for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Neelima, for the insightful and scientific enriched review on how to form a habit and how to develop the habit and how to lose the habit also. And you have really shed the light on the transformative potential of understanding and harnessing all of our habits. With your wealth of experience and expertise in education and in soft skill training and communication, you have provided invaluable insights and inspiration to all the younger generation. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you, viewers. And next Friday at 3 p.m., we'll be joining back with another review of a Telugu book. Till then, be safe. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving this opportunity.